So today we're going to continue Chapter 20, the universe, and we're going to continue looking at Lesson 1. This is Part 2 of Lesson 1, and we're going to look at what is Earth's place in the universe. So here we have the solar system, and the solar system, its definition is the sun and all of the cluster of bodies surrounding it. Okay, so they have the sun, planets, and various other objects that we're going to look at in our solar system. Now, what keeps all of the planets circling around the sun or revolving around the sun? Well, that's gravity. Gravity is going to be that force that holds it all together. Then we look at, there are 8 planets surrounding the sun. We're going to look at those in just a moment. Pluto, which used to be considered the 9th planet, is now considered a dwarf planet. It's in a class of itself, so it's no longer one of the core planets here. Now, 7 out of 8 of those planets, all of their orbits are almost circles, okay? Whereas Mercury does not have a circular orbit. It has more of an oval orbit. And then 6 out of 8 of those planets have 1 or more moons. The Earth is one of those. What is a moon? A moon is a naturally orbiting body. So our moon orbits our Earth, and there are other planets that have more than 1 moon. However, Mercury and Venus do not have any moons. Sorry, Mercury and Venus. Now we have 2 things here that are also in our solar system that are constantly moving around, and those are asteroids and comets. Now, asteroids are actually small bodies, and they are made of rock or metal. So they are out in space, but they're made of rock and metal. This is different than a comet, which is a small icy body. Okay? Both of these orbit around the sun. So asteroids and comets. Now, comets have an elliptical orbit, so sometimes it's way out in space far from the sun, but then as it gets closer to the sun, it might heat up, and therefore it will have a stream of gas and dust in a trail behind it. So that's how we see those trails shooting out from the comet. And asteroids, there's actually more than 10, or there's approximately 100,000 asteroids in our solar system, so that's quite a bit. Now, if we look at our solar system, we have our sun over here in the center of our solar system, and as we go further out, the orbits of the planets out, we see that there are inner planets and outer planets. The inner planets in order are Mercury, Venus, Earth, there we are, number 3, and Mars, okay? Then you get to the outer planets. The outer planets are Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, and Neptune, okay? So these are the planets. As you can see, Jupiter is the largest one, so it's going to have the strongest gravity. Now, let's look at some of the facts about these planets, okay? So we look at our inner planets, and we have Mercury. Mercury is rocky. It has craters and that are formed from meteorites pelting against the surface of Mercury. It has extreme temperatures. Think about this. It's very close to the sun. And it has hydrogen and helium in its atmosphere. Number 2, Venus. Venus is also rocky, formed mostly, has lots of craters, and it actually has some active volcanoes on it. It has carbon dioxide and also clouds of sulfuric acid in its atmosphere. So do you think we would want to live there? Not quite. Number 3, Earth, obviously, it's where we live. It's mostly water, as we know, and it's the only one we know that supports life. Now Mars is interesting because it has a red dust that covers the planet. And it also has polar caps that change with the seasons. On the southern half, there are many craters on Mars. mostly carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, and they have strong winds which pick up that red dust to make it almost look like there's a pink sky. So that's pretty cool. And then we go to our outer planets. In our outer planets, we have Jupiter, which is liquid hydrogen, so it's mainly liquid. It's very, very cold, and mostly hydrogen with liquid ammonia crystals in its atmosphere. Then we have Saturn. Saturn, we know, has many rings. Its core is made out of rock or iron. It's surrounded by ice, and it has liquid hydrogen underneath that ice. It's also very cold, and it has swirling clouds of wind of ammonia in the atmosphere. Uranus, it has mostly hydrogen and helium in its atmosphere. It's very cold, and it appears green. And lastly, we have Neptune. Neptune is possibly has liquid hydrogen and helium in its atmosphere. It's mostly hydrogen and helium, and it also appears pale blue. Now, scientists, there are huge distances between these planets, so we can't just measure using meters or kilometers or miles. So scientists express these distances in astronomical units, or AU for short. And an astronomical unit, its definition is the average distance from Earth to the Sun. Okay? So anything closer to the Sun would be described in fractions or decimals of an astronomical unit, whereas anything farther from the Sun could be, we could say that it's 2 astronomical units. That would mean 2 distances from Sun to Earth. So it's approximately 149.6 million kilometers. Okay, so we'll continue looking at Chapter 20 next time. Please make sure you filled out your form or your worksheet, and thank you very much.